I like to say to people that like when they said like when did you know you were gay, I always say when did you know you were straight. Like
Yeah.
for me, it was never a question. It was just who I was. I mean, as traditional South Asian parents, when they found out, they were devastated
Right.
because their narrative for me had changed. My feminine energy was just there, but it was something that wasn't allowed to be seen, and it was just something that was a bit of shame was put on it. A lot of shame actually. And now we're all like finding it really crazy that people are like non-binary or
Yes.
trans, but at the end of the day, like our gods and our belief system was like that. We're praying to non-gendered creatures, and like it's only the discourse of our, I guess, colonization that we're trying to gender them. I think we need to look at it as a scientific, physical approach, where it's like, okay, you were born as a cis male or a cis female. Cis means that you are born the gender that your body is.
Got it.
But then when you think about your spirit and your soul, like you can be something else. Like you can be on this planet, but dream of being something else. And
Okay.
we always have this narrative of like make your dreams a reality. It's like, what if you dream of being a woman?
Okay.
You should be able to be a woman,
Right.
and that should be accepted.
Right.
It's the fact that we feel like our anatomy needs to dictate who we are and how we express ourselves,
Okay.
and that's just not true.
Ryan.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome to Millennial Mind.
I'm so honored to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. I mean, you look so cool. I feel like people aren't going to know who you are. You look like a DJ slash celeb slash mysterious character in your sunglasses.
South Asian unicorn.
So, for people who don't know who you are, tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name is Ryan Lanji. I call myself London's Asian provocateur, but that was just like not meant to make the edit of my new show. But I'm a TV presenter, DJ. I'm not actually like a DJ. I throw a party called Hungama,
Right.
which is I think London's first public-facing, creative, South Asian alternative Bollywood night, and it's grown like so phenomenally in the last 5 years, and it's been beautifully received by the South Asian community, and it's kind of like an Indian Studio 54, and so that led me to basically becoming a TV presenter. I don't know how. I don't know what I do. I'm just everywhere.
You don't know you don't know you're like.
Well, I'm trying to think about what my bio is. So basically, okay, cool. So I moved here when I was 23.
Okay.
And I wanted to get into fashion and art.
Well,
So
where did you move from?
Vancouver, Canada.
There's your accent.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, pegged. And then so I moved here, didn't know what I was doing, so I basically had to like learn quickly everything I could possibly learn about fashion and art, and I became a fashion curator,
You're a
self-nominated.
little fashion icon. I love what you're wearing.
Thank you. It's Marcella. Anyway, so basically, I did that with such tenacity, and I became known as a beauty and fashion curator.
Okay.
And then I got so disenfranchised with fashion and art, and became a club promoter. Started Hungama, and then went on a Netflix show a couple years ago called The Big Flower Fight.
Yeah.
I wasn't a florist, but I wanted to go on for fun, and I won. And then BBC Three wants me to host their new show, which is out
Amazing.
now.
I know. I've seen it. It looks amazing. Well,
Yeah.
I've seen the trailers, but
The Big Proud Party Agency.
I know I've seen it pinned on your profile. You know, I actually had all these things written down about you. So if you didn't know your like elevator pitch or your bio, don't worry, I had it.
I've always wanted to meet me.
But why did you move from Canada to the UK?
I moved because I think recently I saw some family and I was like, why did I leave? I don't know whether or not it was because I was queer or because I was like really creative and I felt suffocated, but I just felt like there was more to the world that I wanted to see. I guess for some people who are younger, social media and the internet didn't exist. Like I just knew that the world had so much more to offer, and I didn't want like my youth to be spent just in Vancouver, Canada. So I left, and I think with my coming out and the sort of like trials and tribulations of like being accepted in your own family, I just kind of exiled myself. I was like, peace, I'm out. Yeah.
Talk to me about your coming out.
I like to say to people that like when they said like when did you know you were gay, I always say when did you know you were straight. Like
Yeah.
for me, it was never a question. It was just who I was.
Right.
And so I just slowly had to learn. Like I remember being a kid and again not having the internet. I'd like go to the library and like secretly crawl over to the lesbian, gay, bisexual section because it made me feel. No, I don't want to say it made me feel like erotic. No, it was one of those things where like I felt like I recognized myself in those book covers and those storytellings and the narratives, and so I had to like secretly read these books and figure out like what was wrong with me. But then I realized that nothing was.
Right.
Yeah, and I just knew that I was different in a beautiful way. And so I was courageous enough, I guess, to be creative and just go and do that. So my parents, I mean, as traditional South Asian parents, when they found out, they were devastated
Right.
because their narrative for me had changed drastically.
Yes.
And I just didn't want to lie to them. I was like, I just don't want to I've spent 19 years of my life. I came out when I was 19. Pretending to be this perfect South Asian boy. I did everything. Like I took all the pictures at the parties. I DJed all the music. I helped in the kitchen. Like I would clean up everything. Like I was a good kid. And but the one thing I couldn't do was be what they wanted me to be. I could only be myself.
And how do they respond?
My relationship with my mom has drastically changed, but she still has a lot of love for me. But I think with our parents, like they wanted the best for us, and the best is in air quotes when I say that. It's what they project our success to be, and so I just didn't want to sign up for that. And I think, and all of the work that I do is that it's really like rooted in just allowing other people to see me be myself, so they can be more of themselves.
You say that as in you weren't able to be yourself and you felt suffocated. Why?
I mean, like I was just so flamboyant and eccentric, and like I was just so effervescent in the room. Like I loved dancing to Bollywood music. I loved learning all Madhuri Dixit's moves and like learning and singing all Alka Yagnik's like lyrics and not the male lyrics. Like I was just so, my feminine energy was just there, but it was something that wasn't allowed to be seen. And it was just something that was a bit of shame was put on it. A lot of shame actually. And so I just had to just be like, fuck you, everyone.
And how do you feel you're different now? Alok Verma, he talks a lot around how we shouldn't see, feminine and masculine energy as so opposing. What do you think around that?
I think that we're coming to this really beautiful return to what it truly is, which is a harmonization of both. I think as a Hindu Punjabi, like I find it really interesting that Hinduism has like 19 non-binary and trans deities of gods.
No way.
Yeah, so we're praying to non-gendered creatures, and like it's only the discourse of our, I guess, colonization that we're trying to gender them. And so like now we're all like finding it really crazy that people are like non-binary or trans, but at the end of the day, like our gods and our belief system was like that.
I had no idea about that.
Really?
No, I had no idea, and I think it's again, when Alok Verma talks around, Suzanne Stryker's book, and it's called Transgender History.
Yeah.
He basically says, like, people think like non-binary is like this new millennial fad.
Yeah.
We're saying that, right now it's really difficult for some people because they're just like, well, you're just going through this phase at the moment.
Yeah.
But actually, some people don't feel like they conform.
No, I agree, and I think that it's interesting because like we had to figure things out. We as humans like to recognize people and then understand them and put them in a box. Right. And I think for gender we were like male and female. But I mean, I always speak to people really politely and say, listen, like humans are actually very similar and in parallel to mushrooms, and mushrooms have over 1,000 different genders. And so it's like, why do we put ourselves in two things? How could there be this many billions of people on the planet and all of us just be male or female? It doesn't make any sense to me.
We do actually share 50% of our DNA with mushrooms, and I know that because I interviewed Simon and Andy Salter, who created Dirty. So
Really?
they're going to be so happy that you said that. They're going to be like bringing it back to mushrooms.
See, I'm not just cool looking. I actually read things or steal conversations on the tube.
But it's so interesting. So look, I'm going to just play an idiot's guide, okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Pretend I'm somebody who has absolutely no idea. I'm like my parents' generation of someone that's saying, okay, look, Ryan, but when you come out of a womb, you are born either a female or a male.
Anatomically, yes.
Pardon?
Anatomically, yes.
Anatomically, right.
Yeah.
So then why are now people saying that there's like hundreds or 1,500s, like or hundreds, or like you said, the mushroom situation where there's like thousands of identities? How does that make sense?
Well, I think we need to look at it as a scientific, physical approach where it's like, okay, you were born as a cis male or a cis female. Cis means that you are born the gender that your body is.
Got it.
But then when you think about your spirit and your soul, like you can be something else. Like you can be on this planet, but dream of being something else. And we always have this narrative of like, make your dreams a reality. It's like, what if you dream of being a woman?
Okay.
You should be able to be a woman.
Right.
And like that should be accepted.
Right.
It's the fact that we feel like our anatomy needs to dictate who we are and how we express ourselves. Okay. And that's just not true. It's really boring.
I completely agree with you on that. I think some people genuinely feel that they are not their body and they want to express themselves in a different way, and that's totally fine.
Of course.
But I think the term that people get confused by is when people don't identify themselves as either a man or a woman. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
So the discourse of being non-binary is someone who, I guess, sort of lucidly flows between both energies. So it's not based on their anatomy. It's based on their spirit and how they feel like they express themselves and how they feel like they identify. So within themselves are like, sometimes I feel feminine and I would identify as a female, or sometimes I feel masculine and I would identify as a male. But you know what? Both of those are a bit too much for me, so I'm going to be non-binary. I think it works really, really beautifully. Like I think if you think about the discourse of I guess archetypes of people, like you have people who are a bit more feminine or a bit more butch or a bit more I guess macho, but then but they're female, or they're or they're male, and like I just don't think that we need to put labels on things.
I completely agree.
And I think if you're at a place in your life where you're like, I don't want to be either, you should be allowed to be celebrated like that.
I completely agree. I think I have different energies sometimes. Sometimes I feel like I'm one way, and sometimes I feel like I'm another way. I mean, my pronouns are she and her, but I think the way you've just described it makes me feel that some people who are genuinely feeling stuck, that is so freeing to be like, you know, I'm okay the way I am. I don't have to identify myself or put myself into a box. And I think you see a lot of extreme examples online when people say, well, you can just identify as anything, right? If you've seen the Piers Morgan debate where he gets annoyed about this and says, you know, J.K. Rowling was cancelled because she said she only believes in having two genders. She's like, you can only be a man or a woman.
Yeah, which completely erases the trans community.
Why does that?
Well, because imagine, I always come from things from an emotional perspective because I'm very sensitive. And so for me, I'm like, imagine if you're born like a woman or if you're born a man and every fiber of your being wants to be the other gender, and like it's not even like up for discussion, it's just who you are, it's how you breathe, it's how you cry, it's how you love, it's how you laugh. It's like imagine not being able to change genders and being able to access the resources necessary in order to exist as that person. Why would you let someone suffocate within their own body? It's so sad.
It's so sad.
Yeah, and like I think that very traditional people, mostly like cis, again, which are people who are born in the anatomy that they are, heterotypical, which I don't like to say heteronormative, like heterosexual people like to be like, I'm fine, so everyone else is weird, rather than being like, I'm fine, so that actually makes you quite basic. Like if you figured it all out, you're actually quite average. Yeah.
It's fine that it's funny that you say like, I'm fine and you're all weird.
Yeah.
So the word queer, some people don't like to use it, right? Because they're like, well, queer was generally seen as being outside of the norm. But you talk around, you know, creating this platform for queer communities. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, queer is a really beautiful word, and I used to be so scared of it when I was younger. I started Hungama, which is my queer Bollywood alternative night, and I called it a Bollywood night for gay Asian men. But then slowly I started to see lots of queer women show up, and I started to see a lot of non-binary people show up, and I was like, okay, it's not just limited to gay South Asian men. I think I did that at first because I needed to find a boyfriend. So I was just trying to like lure them all in.
And you found him?
Well, yeah. But he's not South Asian. He's Egyptian. He's cute.
Okay.
No, he's great. It's nice, diverse.
Yeah, exactly.
Power couple.
Bringing in the diversity.
Yeah, exactly.
Ticking all the boxes.
So we moved it to this space where we're like, hey, cool, it's actually just for the queer community. Anyone who identifies as other than, I guess, what we would call stereotypical norm.
Yes.
And I feel like we create so much more space there to breathe and flow. The ebb and flow of that room is so much more magical because you don't have to be one or the other. You don't have to be straight or gay or trans or non-binary. You can just be who you are, and everyone loves you unconditionally, which is something the South Asian community doesn't have.
I was just going to ask, so why do you think there was a need for that space?
Because I think about how lonely I was when I ran away. Like, I came to London to make a name for myself because I wanted to be something that was spoken highly in my family, and spoken about highly in my family. And then I came here and I just felt so much loneliness, and I tried to prescribe to this queerness that is in East London and London, and it's like a very white-centered gay man's perspective.
Okay.
And so when I'd go into these gay clubs and I'd be like, I don't really like Kylie Minogue, I don't know who Madonna is, and Lady Gaga doesn't do it for me. Like and you go there and everyone was so obsessed with themselves that I just felt so alone. And so when I'd come home, I'd just put on Bollywood music and cry. And then I was like, you know what? Why don't I make this space for other people? There must be more people out there like me. And so that's when Hungama was incepted.
And that's the first kind of venture you went out on?
Yeah.
So tell me how you did that, because I think, you know, you moved from Canada, you probably didn't have that much money because you moved here, like ran away by yourself.
Yeah.
came here, we're so lonely in this like city. I think it is quite lonely as well here. And especially if you're already feeling like, I don't have anyone that's the same as me, or I can't relate to anyone, or no one resonates with how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, of course.
How on earth did you create this incredible event?
Well, I'm like deliriously optimistic. So when I was younger, it was even worse. And so I basically like worked as a server in Vancouver and saved up all my tips, and I just transferred it into pounds, and I had like 10,000 pounds worth of cash, and I just came here with a backpack, and I just like I remember being in a KFC in Whitechapel, being like, I really hope I get this flat because I need to sleep somewhere tonight. And
Stop it.
yeah, I literally had no plans. And I just walked to Brick Lane and found a pizza place. And I was like, can you hire me? And they're like, you speak English, we'll hire you. And that was my first day in London.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I literally knew no one. And then I just worked from job to job on Brick Lane. And then I remember once I got fired for not fitting the brand. And so I just sold all my stuff on Brick Lane Market and just went to Paris for a bit and then came back. I literally just had zero plans.
This is amazing.
Yeah, I know. I'm like rags to riches. No, I'm not really rich. Just look rich.
It's just so funny. I feel like you're like proper story of like, I came here with a backpack.
Yeah.
With like no clothes.
Legit. But now that I see these Gen Zs who don't want to do anything, I'm like, I literally had to do everything. I had no choice but to survive.
Talk a bit to me about that. Gen Zs who don't want to do anything.
Well, now I think that we're all just like keyboard warriors, and we're all obsessed with like making sure that everyone's politically correct, that no one actually like, we put more blood, sweat, and tears into tearing people down than we do to building our own careers. And it really upsets me at times, because I think that there are a lot of really talented kids out there, but they don't know how to put in the labor. And so I've seen so many kids recently that I've given an opportunity to, but they'd much rather I don't know, weaponize their mental health, or like talk about how they feel like they need X, Y, and Z in order to do their job properly, but they won't even do their job because there's always an excuse to be had. That's not every Gen Z, but I just feel like people are all feeling like the internet is where we should prioritize our work. And I think in real life, grafting is something that is just like, it's just invaluable. And like the reason I can sit here at my age and work in fashion and be a DJ and have like exhibited in the Tate as well as DJ'd in the Tate. I have a BBC Three TV show. It's because I do not stop working for people and with people. And I will wake up and be like, what dream do you have? How do I make that come true with you?
Wow. It's interesting you say that everyone's just so focused on the internet now, because people see it as the quickest way to make a bit of money.
Of course.
And the quickest way to get power and fame.
Yeah.
And I posted a video the other day saying, stop posting for clout.
Yeah.
Like so many people.
Oh, that was so incredible. I literally was like, damn straight.
Right? And I think so many people are just trying to, like you say, be like, I don't really want to work that hard. I don't need this job anyway. I can just make £10,000 a post because I see this person doing it.
Yeah.
And this person's invited to this event, and this person gets this influencer campaign. So it's very easy. And people see things online as being very easy.
Yeah.
In fact, they're incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
And I talked about this as well in terms of followers. You know, it's taken me a long time to get to where I am now.
Yeah.
And I think
Congratulations.
but I feel like, you know, my follower count increased in literally 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, but you know, if you can do that, if your video went viral, then my followers will go from, you know, X amount to X amount in 3 weeks. It's very easy. I just need to make a viral video.
But you get enslaved to it though. Like if you think about TikTok and Reel culture, it's like, do we really want to be remembered for someone else's audio that we spent 2 days in our house changing outfits? It's like,
it's not even that. It's what is the value you're bringing? And I always say to people, stop posting to go viral and stop fixating on trying to go viral, because you will always be unhappy because it will never happen for you.
You're projecting a different version of yourself. Like we hated our parents for telling us who to be, and then we're sitting here projecting something that we're not.
Exactly, trying to work out the algorithm, trying to post the best time. It's ridiculous.
Some people are famous and some people are not. I'm so sorry that I am. Just be who you are and be fucking iconic.
Right.
That's it. Dress how you want, laugh as much as you can, like literally just like go out and seize the world, because like, look, we had a pandemic for a whole year and we all like had these like awakenings. And at the end of the day, it's like, this is how much colonization and capitalism allows us to feel like shit. And like what we all had to do was sit there being like, okay, actually no one needs anything from us. What do I need from me? Yeah. And this is why we had so many people have personality changes, coming out of the closet, or like breaking up with their partners, or changing their jobs, or finding their hobby and turning it into their pride and joy. It's like power to that feeling. And that's what we should be projecting. Document that. And let's just be more authentic rather than trying to perpetuate something that's not real.
Social media at the moment isn't real. And I think a lot of people watching this will be thinking, well, Ryan, you're so confident. Were you always this way?
I think I was. I don't want
I
to
was
be that
born this way.
person. Yeah, because the more when I meet people, I'm very rare because I moved here 12 years ago, and then like London's quite transient. So you meet a lot of people, and then like one day they're like, oh, my visa's expired, or I'm changing my job, or I'm flying here, and you just lose them, and you don't have a core. And I'm so blessed now that I have a core of incredibly talented creative people around me who I love deeply. But back then it was abandonment after abandonment after abandonment because I was the only one who was staying. And then after a while, when you start reintroducing yourself, sometimes it comes from ego or a desire to like cling to the vestiges of fashion. But like I was feeling like no one really knew who Ryan was, and like I don't have many people in London who knew me at 23 or who knew me at 19 or who knew me at like 10. And so like when I meet people, I'm like, can you tell me how I was? Because I don't remember who I am anymore and I need that reminder. And it's so refreshing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've blocked it out, or you feel like you have like parts of your life you don't remember?
As a queer person, I feel like I always had to see the silver lining in things. And then I also felt like I grew up in quite a traumatic upbringing with my parents. Like they're just wonderful people who were victims of circumstance, but like I was brought up with a certain perspective, and like I mean everyone needs therapy. So after taking therapy, I realized that like I was sort of brought up a certain way to think a certain way, and so I had to like unlearn all of that, and then sit like basically take down all the puzzle pieces and then re-put together the puzzle, and it's so much more fun this way.
It really
Yeah,
is.
yeah, it's really nice when you get to like reassemble the way that your brain thinks.
I love that. I think like that self-reflection and understanding why you think the way you do is
Yeah,
so important, and it's something a lot of people miss.
yeah,
And you talk about how everyone needs therapy. I agree. Everyone does. Just even if nothing is going wrong in your life, it's just nice to reflect and think
yeah,
like, why do I think the way I do? Why do I have these preconceptions and ideas in my mind?
yeah.
And you know, one of the things that I always talk about is why we all need therapy. And did you find it hard to kind of take that step?
I feel like how I see it was that we just Instagram became a very visual, infographic led space.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, these words like toxic or codependency and I don't know, being woke and all these things just started like flying into our feeds. And we're like, people started to weaponize them and use them.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, I was like, what do they actually mean? And how do they apply to me?
Okay.
And like when I started to read about toxic relationships, I was like, oh, God, that was me. I was that person. And I realized that all my relationships failed because of the fact that I didn't like myself. And like I was dating white guys who basically were like fetishizing me and then like loved the fact that I was Canadian and South Asian. And I'd go to their like houses and love their families because they were so lovely, but they would just exoticize me and I didn't realize it. And that suffocation made me an angry person and I just retaliated against my partner. And I was like, I just needed to love myself and be proud of who I was. And Hungama's brought me my culture back to me. I say that I'm a practicing like lateral Hindu, which is really cool and like a cool one. Not a regular Hindu. But like it's a situation where like I've met an incredible human who also has the same belief system and like and I had the same trauma. And like you need to meet people who have had sort of the same life experiences as you in a different way and are you able to share that space and that's when you can have a healthy relationship. But I only learned about that through therapy.
And why did you go to therapy? Because I think for a lot of people, taking that first initial step is very hard,
Drugs.
especially in the South Asian community. Genuinely,
Yeah, I'm a rock star. I partied in London way too much. And then like the pandemic happened and I was out all the time at secret raves and I was like, you know what? I need to get control of this. And I was
Okay.
like, when you are lucky enough to survive being queer and South Asian and then thrive, no one teaches you how to have success. No one teaches you how to hold it and how to nurture it. And so what I did was I just didn't believe that I would manage to win a Netflix show and create like an internationally recognized club night and be a fashion curator in London and like slowly see this like doorway of success coming towards me. I didn't know what to do with it. So I just destroyed it. I was like, I'm just gonna party every night and just take every drug under the sun. And I just started to get to a point where I lost all my friends, and everyone was like, Ryan's getting a bit weird. Like it's a typical like celebrity thing. Most celebrities have a moment where they wobble, and it happened to me during the pandemic. And I was like, I need a therapist so I can work through this.
Wow.
Yeah.
You say just now, you know, to survive, and what did you say? To thrive as a South Asian queer. Why do you say that?
I don't think that we have enough visibility of South Asians being creative or queer and successful and happy. And so I think that that's why this radical existence of me right now is super important because there are so many kids, not just in East London, but in other parts of like Brampton and Manchester and like Hounslow who are in these small houses, like on the internet hoping that one day they can be there, but no one's giving them a rule book or a mind map of how to get there. Right. So like my door is wide open to all those people. Be like, reach out, get involved, and you don't have to live this life that is not meant for you. You can live a life that you deserve to have.
And when you say that life that is not meant for you, why is that so different from like a cis heterosexual person?
I think because our parents, and I don't need to speak for everyone's parents,
yes.
We'll probably have really lovely parents. But I'm just saying, like, traditionally, or I guess like more often than not, South Asian parents want the best for us. They want us to be successful, secure, and perpetuate a bloodline.
Yes.
But I think as you learn more about anthropology and I guess like the sociology of the human race, you're just like, actually, we don't need to be doing these things. We don't need to get married. No. We don't need to have children. No. Like we should find happiness and like create a better energy on this planet. And like a lot of these white people like have this like, I went to Goa and like met God and like now I'm a yogi moment, but like we don't get to do that as South Asians. We don't get to meet our own culture and come back being like, wow, because it's shoved down our throats from day dot. Right. And so like I had to leave to come back to it, and now I see it in such a beautiful prismatic way. But other people were like just sitting there being like, it's what I do, but why do I do it? Where do I tap into the third eye? Where do I plug in my third eye? That vibe.
It's interesting you say that, you know, so many of us are told all these like beliefs and rituals, and I actually spoke about one of these things yesterday, and we don't question it, right? Because we're just, like you said, it's shoved down our own throat, and I think it actually deters people away because they're not allowed to question it. So, you know, as like a woman, a South Asian woman, I feel like if I question something, I'm always told off for it. It's like, why are you asking me this question? You should just believe. And I think that's really tricky for me. But as somebody who's kind of in LGBTQ community, for them to question their parents when they're already feeling suffocated as well, they probably feel they don't even have a voice.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, like, only the person listening to this will know how many times they put their head under the bathtub water, and I did that way too many times in my life. And I feel like in our, not to like hate on our culture, because it happens in many cultures, but like as soon as you become, everyone wants you to be educated, but no one wants you to have an education. And so once you start learning and you're like, oh my God, like I've realized this and I learned that and actually did some more research here, everyone's like, shh, don't tell. No, that's not true. That doesn't happen. You just listen to me. And it's like, it's perpetuating this like cult-like leadership.
And how is your relationship with your family now?
I mean, everyone loves me because I'm famous now. No, I'm joking. I was always like the light and the joy, and like I made everyone have more fun. Like like life is always a little bit better with Lanji, and like and they miss me dearly, but I just don't subscribe to the way that they see the world, and that's okay. Yes. And the way that they see the world is completely fine. I've spent time recently with my mom's side and my dad's side, and I have so much love to share with them. But the difference is that mine's not conditional. Like no one has to play by my rules in order for me to give them love or for me to give them space. Like I literally want nothing for them other than their own happiness.
And so at the moment you have a lot of love for your family, even though they don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like I miss them dearly, and like I when I get really drunk, I cry about it sometimes, and that's okay. But it's like I never got to say goodbye to little Ryan. I came here with like big dreams, and now I'm in it, and I'm like, it took me so long to be able to sit in this that I just like to take moments to look back and be like, oh, it was really hard for him.
And what was one of your hardest moments?
I think one of my hardest moments is just like, I don't know, when I guess being really vulnerable is like when I'm on my knees and I just can't tell anyone. Like it's not about mental health or depression. It's about like when I just don't know if I can dig any deeper to chase my dreams. And like, but the only thing I know I can do that will leave a lasting impact on this planet is making my dreams a reality for everyone.
When you mean you can't dig deeper, what do you mean?
It's exhausting. It's like I didn't anticipate podcasts and Instagram and reels and I mean, I always wanted to be in a magazine, and I maybe wanted to be in a movie when I was younger, but now there's so much to contend with, and it's like it's just like this whole neo celebrity existence that a lot of people desire to be in, but at the end of the day, it doesn't fulfill you. Like it doesn't bring anything other than a full schedule and a lack of sleep.
And how do you manage that full schedule, like mentally? Because it's exhausting, like you say, to keep up with Instagram, TikTok, all these shows you're doing. You know, when you're on set all day long, it's very hard. And then to be creative and have that space to think, I find that tricky at the moment as well.
I don't know if this will resonate, but how I feel about it is that like regardless of how many thousands of followers you desire to have, or once you do get them, no one's going to call you.
No one cares.
No one cares.
Yeah.
I had COVID twice and no one knew. I was laid in my bed during the pandemic and no one knew. And it was because I didn't have the energy to call or like reach out to anyone.
Right.
And I was like, it's so funny because I haven't posted in how many days and everyone thinks I'm okay. And there have been so many moments where I've realized that everyone thinks I'm okay, and it's okay to not be okay, but also like when you get to these places that we all aspire to be in, your social circle and people who really care about you shrink exponentially.
And why do you think that is?
Because everyone has ego. People get jealous. It's like it's important to find people who just really want you to be happy and are just happy for you. And the people that I like, the 5 or 6 people I consider chosen family and like my close circle of friends, they literally don't give a shit what I do. They just want me to be happy.
Jealousy is a tricky one, isn't it? Because you can't pinpoint it.
Yeah.
You can't say to a person, you're jealous of me.
Yeah.
You can never say that. But it's a feeling that you kind of get, I think, when you're around someone and you tell them a piece of good news and they're like, oh.
Well, I'm very proud to say that like one of my closest friends is Shira Ravindran, who recently was on the cover of British Vogue. And I met her at Birmingham Pride. And she was so trepidatious when she met me. She was just like, you're like this North Indian who like has this social media thing. And like, I don't know if you're a verified human. And I was like, I have blue tick, I'm cool. And then it wasn't until we got really drunk together that we just like sat in this Airbnb and just put everything on the table from both of our perspectives. And like we literally just like told each other what we dreamt of doing in our lives and all the pain that has come from being a queer Hindu and Shira being a queer Tamil. And like I was like, there's just so much synchronicity and parallels here, and I can support you and you can support me. And literally within like less than a year, we've accomplished so much. It was only last September that we met, and we just were like, let's just mind map what we want to do and how much pain has propelled us here, and like how do we support each other and just be fucking punk and do it. And now I'm so blessed to say that like we're like a fucking cool team we're unstoppable because we've got each other's backs. And I think that's what we need more of. We need more loving and kind people who are just like cutting edge and there to help each other. There's a huge rat race right now that I'm not proud of, like lots of South Asian people or even people of color who just want to get to the table and then want to like be at the table and have everyone be like, I'm the guest of honor at the table. So boring. Like if you're going to be iconic. Like you can't nominate yourself or like get enough followers and people will like deem you as iconic. You just are or you aren't.
You're making me laugh so much. I feel like I've never met anyone like you. I'm just like, wow, gosh, I'm going to walk out of here feeling exactly the same as you. Like, your energy is amazing, but you do have a big presence, I would say. Like, you're very much like Devil Wears Prada energy to me.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, when she walks in and she just throws the coat, that's you. Yeah. You're just like, hello. And I'm just like, oh, God, okay, wow, okay.
We need to call Leslie and minimize the press.
But how do we encourage more people to be like that? So, you know, we're talking about, and I have a bit of a different view on this, if I'm honest. I think you attract what you put out.
Yeah.
So if you say, oh my God, everyone's so jealous of me. Oh my God. And I've seen so many people complain about this and it's really irritating me actually. Yeah. People saying like, you know, women don't support each other and no one in the South Asian community is supporting me. Well, if you keep saying that and you keep putting that energy out there, then no wonder it's not going to come back to you.
True.
And I think like how do we start to do that? You know, how do we start to be more supportive to other people? How do we start to create an environment in which we're just happy for one another? Because at the end of the day, you are never going to be the best in anything. I say this all the time. Yeah. I am never going to be the best in all fields, in all parts of my life, all at the same time. Yeah. I may not even be the best in my field ever. Yeah. But, you know, it's important to understand that just because someone else has got that magazine cover doesn't mean you can't get it. No, just because someone else has been on that podcast doesn't mean you're not going to get the opportunity.
Well, also, it's okay to not be that person.
Like, right. If you don't want to be.
You should just like replace your critical voice with empathy. And so like if you're sitting there going, oh, women don't do anything, it's like, why don't you just go up to women and say, what can I do for you? It's like if someone's going to approach me with a problem, I want a solution. And so the reason why I'm successful, and there are people who don't like me, and that's totally fine. Like you can occupy yourself with whatever energy you want, but like if you don't pay my bills, I don't give a shit. But like how I feel is like if someone comes to me with a problem, I'll be like, how do we fix it? And I'll help you fix it with me. And that allows me to be like like impervious. Like I will always be here because I will always change and I will always grow and I will always learn. And like I will make mistakes. I mean, 5 years ago I was terrified of even the word trans, and now I am so blessed to say I know over 20 trans people in my main like social circle, and these are people I will fight till the end of the world for because their rights are so important.
Yes.
And I will like take on the emotional labor of communicating that to the South Asian community and teaching the South Asian community about how we're anti-black and how we need to fight for Black lives and
100%.
trans people. And like those are things that just are point blank the beginning and ending of every conversation I have. And I mean, I went to visit family recently, and they were like, some of the stuff they were saying was super problematic, but I sat there like very patiently and was like, I'm going to work you through this. It's going to be weird, but at least like we'll plant this little seed, and then hopefully one day when your kids go to school, or maybe our cousins turn out to be trans, like it's okay for us.
Yes.
And we fought now for our kids' rights.
I love that. It's all about having to change people's minds, not completely, but to like help them understand a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I've always been like, from a young age, I've always kind of had that conversation with my family is, you know, I think in Hindu communities, we're very, you know, anti-Muslim, you know, people are very against Islam. It's just ingrained in us.
Yeah.
And, you know, recently there was like a mosque being built in a particular area of London, and everyone was getting so angry about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are you so angry? It's
my
a
God, I
place of
hate it.
worship.
Why people did that to us?
And I was getting so frustrated with this argument, because it was like, well, I'm not even going to say the things that they said because I just think it's so disgusting.
Yeah, don't get there.
And I just feel like it's so hard to change people's minds. But it's important to still have those conversations because it will make them think. The more they hear it, the more they will slowly start to understand. And like you said, I'm not perfect. There's loads of things I don't know about the trans community. And, you know, I really need to start learning. And I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with the fact that I'm always going to be growing. I'm always going to be learning from new people. There's loads of things I don't understand. And I can't be perfect in every arena, but it's all about how can you continuously grow?
I think, how can you continuously grow? I think 2 pieces of advice is don't get defensive and don't be fragile about it. Because you don't know does not make you less of a person. It just makes you someone who's yet to find out.
Right.
And if you don't get it and it's difficult for your mind to unlearn something that you've thought your whole life, it'll take time.
Yes.
Don't get angry or offensive to anyone because of the fact that it's difficult for you to understand. So
and be honest. You know, I had a conversation with Junaid, and we were talking about how difficult it is for some people when men wear makeup or when men wear traditionally clothes that are found in the female department.
Yeah.
And I said to him, the first time I saw it, I found it difficult.
Yeah.
Not because I was like, oh my God, it's so crazy. It's because I'd never seen it before.
Yeah, of course.
So I said to him, and he was like, oh, and I was like, I'm being honest. Like, I could sit here and tell you
I hear
that
you.
I've always been like, oh, it's completely fine. And now I'm like, it's completely fine.
Well,
I understand it.
I just want to say that, like, for people who feel uncomfortable about that, it's because of the fact that you're not putting your head above the parapet. Like, if you look at the history of culture, there are so many iconic people who have done it. If you haven't seen a man in women's clothing or a woman in male clothing, it's because you're not looking at what real culture is.
It's true.
Because anything cool has come from queer culture, and anything like absolutely groundbreaking has come from the trans community. And if it's not trans, it's a Black trans community. And so it's like everyone needs to like really just like take a pen and like literally just do a through line all the way to where something originally came from, and it's queer people.
And the thing is that when you go, and this is what I explained to Junaid, is like at home I didn't see it, at school I didn't see it, on TV I didn't see it. But for my kids, they're going to see it like from day dot, and we're going to be talking about it, and it's not going to be something that you shy away from. In the South Asian community, there are still so many people that I know that don't come out and say how they truly, like, be who they truly are because they're scared. And so it's important to not also, I think, be so like, oh my God, I can't believe you didn't get that, or oh my God, I can't believe you can't understand it. It's important to be like, okay, it's cool that at the moment you're trying to learn it, but like it's also not my responsibility to explain it to you, and I totally get that for a lot of people.
I think that we do get disenfranchised with people who like have a limit to like how ignorant they can be, or actually no, they're limitless to their ignorance. But like I feel like we don't need to. We can pick and choose when we decide to like read someone like their fortune backwards about what they really should know. But I think that there are times where we do have to do the work. Like I think it's important to go back to your family and be like, hey, this is who I am, and if you have any questions, I'm here. But also, I'm going to tell you when your questions are inappropriate.
And I'm going to tell you that you have Google.
Yeah, exactly.
And
true.
You can Google everything.
Yeah,
so
it's all that information is so readily accessible. If you're going to like sit and Google Kim Kardashian or like whatever it is that you Google, like you can spend time getting something that's going to be more like, I guess, healthy for you.
So you founded NDY Global.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
It was a perfect segue. Thank you for asking. Basically, during the pandemic, I was like, I need to move my body. A lot of people had to like do some sort of exercise.
Yes.
They were going for walks in the park and stuff. And I just had a moment where I was like, wow, so many queer kids have run away from home or in flat shares, do not have access to gyms. This is like when gyms were like kind of open. So like only like small groups of people could go to classes.
Oh, I see.
And I was like, they were still paying for gym memberships. And I was like, these kids are not making any money. So we need to like do something. So I got queer people of color who were trainers to host Zoom sessions every day for free. And I just put it on Instagram being like, if anyone wants a gong bath, like it's on Monday. Tuesday's like a central movement class. Wednesday was like weightlifting at home with any object in British Sign Language for people who couldn't like hear. And then I did we did like a HIT class and all this stuff. Every day there was one class and you didn't have to turn your camera on. You could just do it and then sign out. I was there doing it every day. And afterwards I was like, wow, I think we had like over 4,500 people around the world come to these classes. Wow. And then I had this moment where I realized that queer people don't nourish other queer people. Like we run away from home and we like, we congregate underneath like the speakers of the dance floors and we have pain there, and we're in such close proximity to alcohol and drugs. Like I've never seen a cool space that is like, come here and nourish your body to the sounds of club culture and with people from club culture. And it's not about being sober, it's just about having fun. And so I've gone to gyms with my, I guess, clout and said, if you don't host non-binary, trans, queer, people of color gym sessions for free, I'm going to cancel your gym because I know where the cancel button is.
But why is it important to have a separate space?
Because white people and cis straight people are very problematic. Okay. I think microaggressions are things that we don't realize that we do. Like even like the flick of an eyebrow or like a double take can really upset someone.
Yep.
If you are someone who is non-binary, so you don't feel like when you go to the changing room that you're a man or a woman,
yep,
where do you go?
Yes.
If you are a trans person, so you are in need of top surgery or you are on your journey of being in the body that you are destined to have, where do you go in the gym? Yeah. And how do people treat you when you're training? I mean, now we're all like body hair neutrality and like and promoting like people being who they naturally are. Yeah. But what happens when everyone's staring at you because you have a beard and that's what you want? Like the gym is not a safe space.
You're so right.
The gym like echoes dysphoria in such an awful way. And even trainers will be like, "Come on, guys," gendered everyone, or like, "Let's do Superman." Gendered everyone. Like you, and even when you're on the mat and they're like, "Oh, cool, like do an extra sit up and then you can get that beer later." What if you have an alcoholic in the room? Like we don't know like why people are there. And so I'm like using the queer community to go into these spaces and nourish their bodies, but also teach the gyms how to start evolving to be a more inclusive space.
I just feel like I feel so less unstuck by speaking to you, and I don't even think I've gone through a traumatic life. Oh. And like thinking about how like the things you've just said I never thought about before. Really? And I think I'm an overthinker and I'm an over empath. It massively is.
But this is also like what I didn't think about either. Like I'm a cis queer South Asian man. Like, and I have a moment going, wait a second, what about that person?
Yes.
And where is this person? Yeah. Maybe it started once where I was like at home and I was like, does Lady Gaga have any friends? Like I have these really weird thoughts in my head that just pop in, and like one of them was like, who's nourishing the queer kids? And God, so I just went and did it.
Now you're gonna make me overthink everything. I overthink everything like a million times. The other day, I got a coffee and I was in a rush, and the guy outside said, "Can I have 40p for a coffee?" And I said, "I'm so sorry, I don't actually have any cash." And I didn't have time to go in the queue and give him one. Yeah. For 5 days, I've been thinking about it. It's been like 3 weeks. I still think about why didn't I give that man my coffee? Yeah. And now you've made me think about like the instructor saying that. I'm gonna be like, you shouldn't be saying that. You shouldn't be saying that, because it's true. Like I'm a massive empath, and I think like things like that, you just don't know how it's gonna impact someone. Yeah. And someone who is going through like, I didn't even think about the beer thing. That must be so hard.
Yeah, or like if you're lying there and someone's like, oh, like even we did this. I did a panel talk with Tom Daly recently, and we had a non-binary half black, half South Asian model in the room. Their name is Eyebrow Bleach, and they're amazing. And they were just like really honest about their eating disorder. And they were like, why is it that all the machines have calorie counters? And I was like, what? And she was like, I don't want to know how many calories I've lost because it's going to make me associate that with food. And I was like, why do we have them on machines? Yeah. We don't need that.
And why do we have them on menus now?
Yeah, we don't need it.
So unnecessary.
And so why are we counting calories when we eat? And why are we counting calories when we're running? It's like that is something that has been programmed into us to buy more food food that is made more poorly and also go to the gym and stay on the machine for a certain period of time.
And then everyone's like, stop thinking that you need to burn everything off that you eat. And it's like, well, how do you stop that cycle? Because it's presented to you both constantly.
And then your trainer's like, come on, do this boat pose and hold it for another 30 seconds and you can have that bowl of nachos. You're like, you don't need to say that because you don't know who is desperately trying not to have those nachos right now or is desperately wanting the nachos and their body is just not allowing them to eat it.
We need to educate people a lot more, and I think every single area of life, because there's so many things that, you know, you can be more sympathetic, you can be more compassionate, and you can try and understand what other people are going through. And I think almost there's a blanket statement thrown on everyone to be like, we don't need that, you know?
People don't want to do the work because their life is convenient. So there are a lot of South Asians who are in the public eye, and I'd happily name drop, but I don't want to shame anyone. But they basically feel like because that they have money coming in, they have business, they're aligned with the right brands, and they have a social media following, and they can optically be around the people they want to be around, that they're a good person. And like, no one's courageous enough to be like, actually, you're a piece of shit. Like, no one likes you.
This podcast has been like so, like, I don't even know how to describe it. I feel like it's so deep, and then you make me laugh, and I'm like in this like limbo of like, I love you, but also like, this is so sad, but then also like, oh my God, I need to enlighten myself. I don't know how I've been feeling, if I'm honest. Funny. I'm confused. But I really have enjoyed having you on. I'm really sad that we didn't have longer. We need to do like another podcast, I think, because there's just so much I think I can learn from you.
Of course.
But we finished this podcast with a truth or dare.
Okay. Dare. Wait,
say truth.
Truth. Okay, right. Why would I pick dare? Of course.
I was like, say truth. Don't pick dare. I don't have a dare. Okay, truth is, what's the one thing you wish we could change in this space?
This room specifically. Maybe like a feature wall.
What's something we could change in the cis heterosexual space?
Stop lying to yourselves. I think we pretend that we don't do things, and we don't actually exist as who we are, and that doesn't allow other people to exist as well. And so we're just all perpetuating projections of each other and then wondering why no one likes each other or why we don't like ourselves. So just be who you are and be kind. That's what I'd change.
How do we start to be who we are?
Just to give 0 fucks.
Be like you?
Yeah. But also like...
Pass me the sunglasses.
Yeah, fine.
I am who I am.
Yeah, a little more Lanji.
Now everyone can see your face. You've revealed yourself. You were this mysterious character this whole podcast. Now you've revealed yourself. Everyone's going to be like, oh my God.
I know, imagine I was someone else.
Thank you so much for coming on.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I've chatted about so many different things, but if you take anything away, it's just like, don't stop learning and don't stop being kind.
I love that. Thank you so much.
And also be fabulous. And you can always dress better.
Hey, I feel personally attacked.
You look
Gosh.
fantastic.
Okay, we'll just end it there.
I mean, I'm glad I wore leather. Like, you're like giving a really cute like animal print moment.
Thank you so much, Ryan.
Hey everyone, and thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Wherever you're listening or watching, if you could press the like, follow, and subscribe button, it would mean the world to me.